Good evening, that's going to be fun. Last and in English. Hope you enjoy, at least that we can get a little playing with the figures. You're talking about circular economy. In the remanufacturing of cartridges, we are like a textbook example. We've been doing it for more than 25 years. And what is amazing is that instead of growing, we are decreasing. And this is something that was also brought to attention to some Belgian authorities to try to understand what can be some of the problems of driving markets to circular economy. Maybe one of the problems is that we have two enemies. One enemy on one side are big technological firms, and the other enemy on the other side are Chinese companies. So we did not look for weak enemies, but for very strong ones. So let's keep going. Imaging equipment, printers, multifunctions were so relevant. Well, there are many of them, nearly in every family, in any business. And still, paper is the more important information media, so it's everywhere. As an electrical and electronic equipment, we also need to have some chemicals and some consumables that increase exponentially our waste streams. Meaning that, as you may know, electrical and electronic waste only accounts about 3 to 4% of the total waste worldwide, but account for 70% of toxicity. So it makes it quite important. We're dealing with paper, we're dealing with chemicals, toner and ink, we're dealing with plastics, and we're dealing with a business model called razor and blades that is somehow pushing even further the anticipated obsolescence. So these are the scenarios we're moving. You all know the printer life is quite reduced. When you want to go to buy cartridges, the cost of the cartridge may be even superior to the printer itself, so it's an invitation to throw away. Let me share with you some data that was released just a couple of days ago by a study of European Commission on a home office printer. Average measure life is 4 years, and 4 cartridges are consumed a year. The yield of the cartridge is 288 pages, and printer speed average is 15 pages a minute. So the life of a cartridge is 19 minutes. So when we are scared about the life of a light bulb of 1,000 hours, think about the life of this consumable, 19 minutes. So if we take this printer and we take 4 cartridges a year times 4 years, what we will find is that the total life of the average printer we buy at home is 5 hours and a quarter. I don't know what you think about it, but I think it's tremendously paradoxical and ridiculous. At the business level, maybe the difference is not so big, but here you have the graph of data gathered from thousands of printers, and under use are 85%, okay are 9%, and overutilized only 6%. On the other data graphic, what you have is how many printers were changed before they reached 100,000 pages. And as you see, and being 100,000 pages, 1/5 of the average life, suppose, of 500,000 pages. So as you see, they are absolutely changed on a very fast mode. Moreover, there is no secondary market. I mean, you can change a car, after 20,000 kilometers, somebody will buy and use it. For the printers, this is not the case. On home office, the data suggested that the average cost of reparation is 0, meaning they are never repaired. Okay? I think we're all well aware about the paper consumption, and it's normally the most important impact at the use phase, except for the cartridge. All the information that I showed you talk about the cartridge being the hotspot into the environmental impact of this group of products. What can we do? Of course, printing duplex is key as represents reduction, and we know reduction is on top of circular economy. Another option is pull printing. That means you send the document, that the document is only printed when you validate it. Again, it represents a reduction. Reusing paper when possible. Again, we are at the level of reuse. And of course, using recycled paper and look for certified papers represent the third priority. Okay. Again, as I told you, you can download these studies from European Commission, and at the use phase it's very clear that the cartridge is the most important topic. It's a growing vector of waste on quantity and quality. Some of the reasons is that today in our printing sector there are more than 23,000 different SKUs as to drive it. So every new printer introduces, there is no standardization, introduces new consumables. Okay. Unfortunately, what happened is, though we have been trying to reuse these cartridges, Chinese companies have found that it's very easy to copy at a lower level of quality. And this has represented that the share of remanufacture has been decreasing while the share of fake clones had been increasing. These fake clones are mostly made of plastic that does not comply with RoHS. That means that we have been testing from ETIRA, and 83% of the cartridges we tested, new build from China, were having more than 2,000 parts per million of forbidden flame retardants. I do not know if you're familiar what's the impact of forbidden flame retardants. We have seen here, speaking about chrome, RoHS is a directive that speaks about only 6 or 7 substances that have together 3 characteristics. They have to be very toxic, they have to be very persistent in the ambient, and they have to be bioaccumulative. Okay? One of these toxic is found in the plastic that is made cartridge from. Okay? And for the ones of you that want to look for it, there is a very interesting reportage at the TV. You can browse it. It's Brains in Danger. In this magazine, you can discover that the intellectual coefficient of Europeans have been growing up to 80. Okay, and in 90, all the data has been gathered from the Scandinavian armies that have been measuring IQ for decades, and they found out the intelligence of Europeans stagnant at 80s and start reducing. And one of the suspect substances for this reduction is flame retardants, brominated flame retardants. Another important thing, and we have seen it, is cartridge must have the CE marking. CE marking implies producer and importer has to comply with all directives like electronics and electrical equipment, electromagnetic compatibility, RoHS that I already assessed, and low voltage directive. But also inside we have chemicals like toner powder and ink. So also directives about chemicals apply, like CLP, REACH, and we. Of course also General Safety Products Directive. And in some countries there is already reuse threshold, okay? I was on Monday in Brussels, and the good news is it looks like Brussels will implement growing thresholds on reuse of these materials. So we are trying to move into more circular economy model, but still we have the problem of single-use clone cartridges. How to improve resource and material efficiency? it has been found out that energy consumption reduction is at its limit. So we're working to extend printer life, to avoid premature change of printer, and look for what it's called performance exhaustion. That means the technical end of the life. Always try to choose environmental certified printers, certified with Blue Angel, EPIT or TCO certification, being TCO probably the most renowned certification. Look for MPX and maximizing life, reducing waste. That means try to make your fleet live longer. We all understand the forest will not change all the trees at the same time. Why people change all the printers at the same time? Print only when necessary. Try to avoid single-use cartridges. Remember that impact might be higher than paper. Reuse, repair, and do the maintenance as to expand life. And of course, at the end, dispose of weed adequately. I've been short, I've been sharp. I hope you did not have the time to bore, and you found some data interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bene, very well, thank you.